Mason, Representative Tudor. Representative Rudy,
I don't think so.
Melvin for Lino, and Reed for Prout. Brian, would you pass these out in your side?
They were expecting a surplus that was going to have things we've already appropriated. And they're not going to
Could you take one and pass it down, please?
And I filled out this green sheet the other day. I didn't know what it was, but I guessed correctly and I did it right. So did we give it to him this time? Yeah.
Representative Seaworth, we're going to get started. Representative Leclerc, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have some individuals filling in for us today. Representative Hagan Phillips, Representative Lane, welcome to the Labor Committee. Representative Melvin, Representative Reed, and Representative Tudor. Thank you very much for agreeing to fill in. I'm opening the executive session on House Bill 232 FN, and I'm going to recognize Representative Sullivan. Oh, we should probably let everyone come back in for a second here.
I'm gonna need that back.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, no problems. Just figure I'm gonna have to fill a bunch of these out. I don't know.
All right. Representative Sullivan.
I would like to move amendment 2023-2429H. It is the amendment that I distributed to the committee via email yesterday.
Motion is made. Is it seconded? Seconded by Representative Susi. Motion has been made and seconded. Representative Sullivan, you're recognized to speak to your motion.
Thank you. It's been a long haul. Essentially, the difference between this amendment and the amendment we were looking at last week is in the first section, section 1, and it's the bold print. The bold print reads, employers shall provide employees a level of protection that is at least as effective as a level of protection set forth in rules adopted pursuant to RSA 277-16. This means that at no time will public sector employers and employees be responsible for safety standards that are anything other than what is in the Department of Labor rules. So as the department goes through the exercise of adopting new rules to be at least effective as the OSHA standards, in the meantime, all of the public sector will continue to operate under the current safety standards. And so it'll be a gradual, over a period of 3 years, there will be a gradual replacement and shift from the current safety standards to standards that are at least as effective as the OSHA standards. So this corrected a potential problem where we feared that maybe people would think they were responsible for the OSHA standards starting in 60 days. That was not the intent. And I think now the language makes it very clear that it'll be a rolling adoption over the course of 3 years. And it'll be between the Department of Labor and GELCAR to gradually make that shift. And at the end of 3 years, we will have a set of standards that is at least as effective as OSHA 1910. So that's what this new amendment does. The rest of these components are exactly the same as they were last week. I'm going to forego going through that whole thing again. I'd be happy to answer questions if people have them, but I think it was just a week ago we went through the whole thing, so I'm going to avoid the repetition. Thank you.
Seeing no other hands, I do support the amendment. The amendment was brought to our attention by individuals from the Association of Counties, and it was a very good point. This makes the bill better. It explains it better. And I would ask the members to support the amendment. Seeing no other hands, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? If you're in favor of the amendment, you will vote yes. Against the amendment, vote no.
Vice Chair Seaworth,
Yes.
Rep. Melvin,
Yes.
Rep. Reed,
Yes.
Rep. Love,
Yes.
Rep. Boyd,
Yes.
Rep. Tudor,
Yes.
Rep. Colcom,
Yes.
Rep. Drago,
Yes.
Rep. Granger,
Yes.
Ranking Dem Sullivan,
Yes.
Rep. Haken Phillips,
Yes.
Rep. Cahill,
Yes.
Rep. Lane,
Yes.
Rep. Susie, Rep. Bouchard,
Yes.
Rep. McKenzie.
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. I wrote them in the wrong order.
It's all right.
Sorry.
No worries.
Rep. Leclerc,
Yes.
Rep. Staub,
Yes.
and Mr. Chair.
Yes.
10 to 10.
Representative Sullivan. What? No, 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 no. No, no, it's 20-0.
20-0.
Oh my gosh, that's why. Okay, sorry. 20 to nothing. I don't know what habit.
Unfortunately, I know.
Must be.
It's nice when we all agree, Mr. Chair. It's rare.
Representative Sullivan.
I would like to move ought to pass as amended.
Motion on the floor is ought to pass with amended. Is it seconded by Representative Susie? You're recognized to speak to your motion.
I think it's, as I said, it's been a long time coming. Essentially, we have a set of Department of Labor standards that have gone long neglected. It was acknowledged by former Deputy Commissioner Ogden that it'd been at least 10 years since these have been updated. When the department did a detailed comparison between the DOL standards and the OSHA 1910 standards, it was very clear that there were gaping holes in the current standards. And there are certain aspects that desperately needed to be filled in. So this bill does fill that in. As I said a few minutes ago, it fills them in gradually over the course of 3 years. That process, that implementation method was recommended by the Department of Labor. And I thank them for their assistance with this, because what I asked for is an implementation that would work for the department and work for employers. And I believe that is what has been accomplished here. So I urge the committee to support the ought to pass as amended motion. Thank you.
Buy a bunch today. I am OSHA 10 certified. I do believe in safety. Unfortunately, I've told some of you that in my job as an insurance agent, I've had 3 deaths on construction sites that I was involved with as an insurance agent for. So when this was brought to my attention, I was very eager to get involved, and sat down with Representative Sullivan and then the committee. And probably other than one other bill for workers' compensation 10 years ago, is probably the most thorough analysis of the entire situation that I've probably gone through on any particular bill here in the Labor Committee. I think that what was agreed to by the subcommittee, which was unanimous, Republicans and Democrats, is what's in front of you, was probably the best effort yet to try to get something done. What is bothering me is the quiet, rephrase my words. Sorry, I'm thinking here. The way that I'm being told by folks that this bill doesn't have a chance. It's not going to pass as is. Municipal Association is against the bill. My own Department of Public Works in Manchester has said to me, why is the legislature getting involved with this? It doesn't belong with the legislature, it belongs with the Department of Labor. I had a senator call me and said, what are you doing? Because whatever you do, we're going to kill it in the Senate. So I don't like passing legislation that I know is not going to pass. So what are the options available? Well, we can go back to study. I don't think that's the right thing to do. So I'm betwixt and between. I have my city officer telling me he doesn't want it. Associations that I know are going to be against it. So I don't like any of them. And it's a little disheartening for the amount of time and effort that has been put into this. And I need to applaud Representative Sullivan for the time he has put in. But I think we need door number 3. And I don't know that I have a door number 3. So I am not going to support the final bill, and I'm going to support another future amendment, and I'm hoping that the silence, quietness of telling me this is not going to pass, that people come up with what they want. What is going to pass? I mean, we've been doing this for 6 or 7 months. I would have liked it to have been out on the table as to what it should be. Maybe that is the department going back and doing what they've done for, I don't know, 50 plus years and revamping their safety manual, something closer to what we need. It's difficult, you know. Some will say, well, it's the representative's obligation, it's the legislature to push it through, and then the departments have to deal with whatever we push through to them. Yeah, that's one way of legislating. But this is too big not to have everyone on board. So with massive regret, I will not be supporting the bill in hopes that between now and the time that this hits the floor, someone has a better idea, or some of the people that are going to not support it come up with a way to support it. So that is my 2 cents. Any other comments? Representative McKenzie.
Mr. Chair, I have been involved in workers' compensation for better than 40 years. I've sat on a number of commissions. I've been in the room when deals were negotiated for workers' compensation over the course of many years. And I can tell you with a fair amount of confidence that the question of this safety committee was a deal that was cut between the business and industry and all the groups as part of a deal to lower workers' compensation rates in the state of New Hampshire. Where we were when we started through this process in the early 90s, and I've asked you, and you agreed to get Christine Grant, our researcher, to take a look at this. Where we were was there was nobody who would write workers' compensation in the state of New Hampshire. There was one carrier, as you remember. There are 28 now. The difference between where we were then and where we are now is that there were significant changes made as part of a deal. And part of that deal was workers lost things, lost benefits. And part of the trade-off for losing those benefits, and I can, when this research comes out, we can put this on the table and you'll understand. But let me give you just one example what workers lost. They went from 66 and 2/3 to 60% of their pay. Now, it's the municipal association or the county association is not raising that, but that was a significant reduction in cost to employers. The quid pro quo for those kinds of things was to give us a solid safety and health program. So we're not negotiating, we're not talking about a new program that's coming up. We're simply talking about updating the standards for the program that was we already agreed to many years ago. And let me say this, and you look at the incidence of workers' compensation in New Hampshire, Mr. Chairman, you're closer to this than I am, which you've seen is a marked reduction in the number of injuries in workplaces. And that's a result of this program, the safety and health program. So all we're talking about is taking a standard that is old and tired and simply upgrading the standard. And that's what this is about. Now, for people to push back and say, and I'm not sure exactly what the objection is of the municipal association, but if it's about money, then there's two sides of the equation. There's two sides of that. One side is what we gave up, and one side is what they saved. And you've got to take, when you look at the cost of workers' compensation, you have to take both of those into consideration. And this system it's a reasonable system. It is save people money. It's in a place where we have 28 carriers in New Hampshire from going from 1 to 28. So this has worked and worked well. And so I hope when we take this vote and we take this into consideration, that everybody gave up something to get to where we are today. And all we're asking for is simply update the standard, like they do for the electrical code, like they do for the plumbers code, like they do for other organizations in the state of New Hampshire. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking to start this all over again. This is already in the law. So, Mr. Chairman, I hope that when we go through this and we think about this, that we really take into consideration how we got to this place and the deals that were made to get to this place, and make sure that public sector workers have a solid program that will protect them as they do in the private sector, and not have two people working side by side, one covered by OSHA, one covered by a weak law that's 20 years old. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Representative. Appreciate your comments. Any other comments, Representative? Madam Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Did I call you Madam Chair?
You did, and I don't mind.
Madam Clerk?
I just wanted to say that Representative Sullivan and I have worked with an organization that is looking at employee rights and protections in worker safety, and know the story of at least one person who died because one of our towns decided to save money in a really dumb way, and this gentleman lost his life. So to exempt public employees from OSHA allows has opened the door, unfortunately, for situations where, for lack of a better word, inept managers, middle managers, have made choices of money over safety. And it would not have saved that much money to have saved that gentleman's life, to do a safer way of transporting this equipment that needed to be transported twice a year. I'm certain this isn't the only incident where a town or city has tried to save money, or the state has tried to save money, and instead it's at the expense of worker safety. And I think this is just a simple issue of fairness. And I believe our public employees deserve, at a minimum, the basic right to have the same safety laws that our public sector already has. And I think that it does ensure that bad decisions to compromise safety won't be made. And therefore, I support the bill.
Representative Drago.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On paper, it seems like a really good idea, this bill, the way it's written, because right now we have two sets of rules, good for thee, not for me. As a private sector employee, my employees are held to a different standard than public sector. So part of it says you need to do that, but we don't. And I think we can all agree that safety should be a concern for everybody. It doesn't matter who your employer is. Everybody should kind of be held to the same standard. The problem, and I don't know how we fix this, but the problem really is the amount that it costs each municipality. And our Constitution says you cannot mandate, expand a program, provide a new law without having to fund it on a municipality. So therefore, we're voting on something that is unconstitutional. And no matter how I feel about it, because I do care about the employees and I want everybody to be safe and have the same playing field, if it's against the Constitution, I can't support the bill. Thank you.
Representative Sullivan.
With regard to the unfunded mandate, as I understand it, the courts have been pretty clear about this, that if we were creating safety standards for the first time ever, that could be considered an unfunded mandate. But because there's a program of public sector safety through the Department of Labor, we are not creating something entirely new. And therefore, it is not a unconstitutional bill. It simply makes adjustments. The department can make adjustments to the rules as it is now. The department has always worked with public sector employers around budget issues, where if there's a violation of the safety standards, they've simply said, we're going to have to fix this. And we understand you may need to deal with it through your budgeting process. So we will have an interim fix and a permanent fix that will come once you can deal with the budgeting. But this has been going on for decades. So it's maintaining safety does cost. There have been many studies done by OSHA to show that improving safety saves money. In the long term, it dramatically saves money. So we are not just saving injuries, saving lives, we're also in the long run saving money for the public sector in New Hampshire. Thank you.
Representative Seaworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A number of times as we've worked on this bill, we've gotten wound up on this issue of 28A and unfunded mandate, and how a court might rule if it came before them. I've started trying to think about this a little more simply. After I got home last week, after our committee, I had waiting for me the tax bill for this year's property taxes. And it was up a decent bit. And when I looked on Facebook, there was a lot of angry people in the town about why the taxes were raised. And to me, maybe that's a simpler way of looking at it. What is going to be this impact, the impact of this on my taxes? What's it going to be on the people who voted for me, on their taxes? And part of the answer is I'm not sure. As Representative Sullivan just pointed out, there may be some benefits as well as cost. Depending on how this is implemented, it could have more or less of an impact on the towns, on the county, whose budget I'm also responsible for. But we don't know. This is a request to, well, we'll throw it out there and we'll see what comes out, and we'll deal with it when it does. And as the chairman pointed out, I'm uncomfortable with that. I've heard the voices that maybe didn't come before the subcommittee, but are out there that are concerned with that. And so for that reason, although I voted for the amendment, I'm going to be unable to support the OTPA. And I've also, because I also feel like I don't want to discard the hard work that the department has done, that this committee has done. In speaking with the chairman, I've come up with what might be a door number 3, and if this OTPA does not succeed, then I'll offer a further amendment. Thank you.
Representative Cahill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know our taxes went up too, and it's not because of this, because this hasn't even happened. We just have taxes going up because the state doesn't pay for things that maybe it should, like education. But when we think about safety and how our own workers' comp rates, have gone down year after year because we've improved safety, and our labor department wants to improve safety, it's kind of stunning that the public works people in Manchester, I don't know about, I haven't talked to my public works guy, but I think he'd like to improve safety rather than, so don't bother me with this legislation. So I think we should pass the bill, and I hope that people can be persuaded to support it when it gets to the other body. Because as we continue to have life-changing injuries or deaths, it costs somebody, and it's more than our tax bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As someone who has had, a life-changing injury in work, the worker safety is pretty darn important to me. And it'd certainly get my vote if this was a budget year, where we could make a provision in the budget to pay for all this and, everything would go through smooth. But unfortunately, it's not a budget year. I'd be glad to support this next year. But this year I can't because, it's an unconstitutional mandate on our cities, towns, and counties.
Representative Cahill.
Mr. Chair, if I may reply to Representative Love, this is something the Labor Department will work over on a period of years. So certainly we're going to have a budget year or two before much of this is taken effect. So I think it's worth doing.
Seeing no other hands, there's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. We've had discussion. If you're in favor of the motion, ought to pass with amendment, you'll be voting yes. If you're against, you'll be voting no. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Chair Seaworth,
No.
Rep. Melvin,
No.
Rep. Reed,
No.
Rep. Love,
No.
Rep. Boyd,
No.
Rep. Tudor,
No.
Rep. Colcom,
No.
Rep. Drago,
No.
Rep. Granger,
No.
Ranking Dem Sullivan,
Yes.
Rep. Hagan Phillips,
Yes.
Rep. Cahill,
Yes.
Rep. Lane,
Yes.
Rep. Susie,
Yes.
Rep. Bouchard,
Yes.
Rep. McKenzie.
Yes.
The clerk votes yes. Rep. Leclerc,
Yes.
Rep. Staub,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
No.
Now 10 to 10.
Bill is up for a few further motions. Representative Seaworth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to move Amendment 2023-2409H. And that was distributed at, last week.
Motion has been made. Do we have a second? Representative Holcomb seconds the motion. Representative Seaworth, you're recognized to speak to your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Some of what we heard in the arguments supporting this bill is that the Department of Labor already regulates safety, that we simply want them to upgrade the standard. We've heard how it's worked well, that the costs and the safety incidents have gone down year after year. Something the chairman mentioned to me offline is that our municipalities have a better safety record than private industry when you look at the rates. Um, so what I tried to do here is come up with an amendment that recognizes all those facts and does exactly that. Asks the Department of Labor to work within their existing authority and simply upgrade the standard. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Sullivan.
I appreciate the sentiment of the amendment. It, however, provides no guidance whatsoever to the department as to how to go about upgrading its safety standards. The department has been left to its own devices for years now, and without any guidance from the legislature, has not upgraded its safety standards. So I would suggest that simply saying, we're going to give you 3 positions and a little bit of money to take out of the funds that the department has available. It doesn't give them any guidance as to how to go about changing the standards. So I don't see that this would make much, if any, improvement over our current situation. Thank you.
This committee works very well with the Department of Labor and Department of Employment Securities, and probably better, or I don't want to say better than any other committee in the departments, but we work very well together with them, and I do have trust in them. And quite frankly, maybe they have to dig deep and bring in another person or bring in a safety person and look at the other states and what they're doing and upgrade it. Without question, I will agree with you 100%. My colleagues on the left side of me, that we need to upgrade the safety. You asked me, Representative Cayley made a comment about Manchester. Yes, Mr. Clardy from the Department of Public Works does not like the legislature getting involved, and it was very much in favor of the department doing something. Manchester is very lucky. They do have a safety officer who manages all this. And their workers' comp claims are down 45% from 3 years ago because they got rid of they now have the trash barrels picked up with a machine. Representative McKenzie talked about the reduction in claims and the workers' comp rates going down. A lot of it has to do with New Hampshire's use of technology to do things, using machines versus people's backs and other things. I did look at the reports. Representative Colcom had asked the department for the review of claims, and I looked at where a lot of the claims were coming from. And there are bumps and bruises. There are back injuries, back strains, shoulder strains, and a lot of these things. So there's a very easy place to kind of pinpoint some of the things that need to be done. I had requested that Representative Seaworth come up with some kind of an amendment because I do not want this issue to die. It needs to be upgraded. It needs to be done. And I'd rather have some available mechanism so it doesn't die. So depending on whatever happens in the House, if someone decides to go to the Senate to try to deep six it, there's another mechanism already available that came out of, at least even if it was a tie 10-10 in the committee, there is at least another mechanism available as some kind of a compromise. Because I don't have any other mechanism that I could think of other than another study committee, which I don't want to do. I think we've done it. And that is the purpose, and that is why I had requested that Representative Seaworth come up with something that I could support. That is my position. Seeing no other hands. Oh, Representative Cahill, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Just another comment, thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to go, in addition to our working so well with the agencies that in our purview, I just wanted to add for the benefit of our guests that Labor is the best committee in the House.
Because guys like you with a lot of institutional knowledge continue to come back here. So, seeing no other comments, no other hands, appreciate everyone's comments and respectfulness toward each other. If you are in favor of the amendment, you will vote yes. Against, you'll vote no. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Vice Chair Seaworth,
Yes.
Rep Melvin,
Yes.
Rep Reed,
Yes.
Rep Love,
Yes.
Rep Boyd,
Yes.
Rep Tudor,
Yes.
Rep Colcom,
Yes.
Rep Drago,
Yes.
Rep Granger,
Yes.
Ranking Dem Sullivan,
No.
Rep Hagan Phillips,
No.
Rep Cahill,
No,
Rep Lane,
No.
Rep Susie,
No.
Rep Bouchard,
No.
Rep McKenzie,
No.
and the clerk votes no. Rep Leclerc,
No.
Rep Staub,
No.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
10 to 10.
So I'll need a report from both parties on, and at this point. Do you want me to do it? Yes, please. Is there any additional business to come in front of this committee? As I stated in the last meeting, we do have anywhere between 10 and 12 bills coming to us. I tentatively scheduled 18th and 25th of January. Representative McKenzie, Representative Cahill, I know you have bills coming in front of the committee. Whenever you have them, or whether you get them, or they're signed off, or you have the wording, please pass them along so I can pass them to the committee. I'm going to try to get the bills to the committee as fast as quickly as we can. It may be a little late, but I don't want to cram us into our, into January where we're meeting twice. I only like to meet once a week and trying to get all of our bills done in at least heard within 3 days.
Rep Staub has some good bills coming too. She's a new member.
All right. Very well. I wasn't aware, but thank you. All right. Thank you very much, folks. Executive session is adjourned.